Right now, there are thousands of people that have done everything right in their life. They went to college, they got a good job, they're making good money, they're saving their money. And then when it comes time for them to settle down, they realize one thing: houses are too unaffordable right now. And even though you've done everything right in your life, you still can't afford a house. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make your next house much more affordable in terms not only of your down payment, but your monthly payment. And it's all based off of one premise. If you buy a house today, everybody involved in the transaction leaves with more money in their pocket except you. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna show you how to use that fact to get more money in your pocket and save you guys some money. Because here's the thing, nobody's coming and saving us. No, politicians are too busy protecting themselves because a lot of them are homeowners and have a lot of investments in ownership and the real estate. They are also getting funded by corporations who are lobbying. The legislation and bills are going to keep coming up. They're not going to come and save us, guys. We're going to have to find creative ways and scrappy ways to save money ourselves. So let's start off with the first person on our hit list, and that is sellers. How do we get the sellers to give us some of that money that they're making? Well, first and foremost, whenever you find a house, whether it be on Zillow, Realtor Trulia, your realtor sends it to you, whatever the case is, once you've discovered you like it, the first thing you need to figure out is what is the rough estimate of what that seller owes. Now, odds are you're probably not going to get that information directly from the agent because that's like kind of imperative to know, right? But you can look at the tax records, you can get an idea of what they bought it for, how many years ago, what the rate was, what their down payment was. If that number is incredibly tight, for example, you're looking at a $350,000 house and they bought that house for $400,000 2 years ago. Well, this is probably not a situation that we're going to win. We're going to walk away and find something else. But let's say if the situation is a lot more loose, let's say they bought it 10 years ago for $200,000 and now they're trying to sell it for $350,000. Now we got ourselves a good situation. All right, here's a quick guide on how I did it. Just look up any amortization calculator. Loan amount was $200,000. The loan started in July 2016. Interest rate at that time, we're just going to go back and find what that interest rate was then. Try not to cry when you do this. The 3.5, so that's why I put 3.5. And we're going to plug it in now. And we just find where we are in 2026, which is right here. Assuming that they didn't make any extra payments, the loan balance is about $155,298. How can we get some of that equity into our pockets so we can save some money? There's two main ways we're going to do that. One is we're going to get the house cheaper. And two, we're going to get extra seller's concessions so we can buy our rate down further. Seller's concessions is essentially, it's the amount of money the seller is conceding to you to give to you to help you pay your closing costs. Closing costs are usually like little title fees, lender fees, stuff like that. But what people don't understand is closing costs can also mean buy down fees. That is money that you're paying the lender to give you a cheaper rate. Here's how the buy downs work and makes your payment more affordable. So let's say you're buying a house for $350,000. The current rate right now is 6.5%. That monthly payment is $2,616 once you add everything. Well, you can actually, with the lender, buy down this rate further at a specific cost. Now, the cost changes daily, but just kind of get an idea. If you look online right now, hold on, let me just update the left side. I didn't realize this was updated. Okay, there you go. So 5.873, and you can show here. So basically, it's costing us $4,700 plus typical closing costs, which is usually part of the fee. So for $4,700, we can get that rate to 5.873. So what is that going to do for our monthly payment? Keep an eye right here and keep an eye right here and watch what happens. So our monthly payment went down and our total interest paid down for a total cost of $4,000. Now, what if we can get $8,000 and we can get this down to 5.4? Right now we're definitely talking. Now you don't have to go and ask for a bunch of money, but just with like an extra 5 or extra 10K, that just makes everything much more affordable. So we find a house, let's say we use the same examples before, $350,000. They owe about $200,000 on it. Well, if we were playing things safe, we could make an offer for $350,000 and we can ask them for about $10,000 of seller's concessions. Normally the closing costs are going to be only about $10,000. So this essentially gets it so that you get the house, you get your closing costs paid for, and the only thing you have to worry about is your down payment. But let's look at other factors. Has the house been on the market for a while? Has there been a lot of price reductions? The magic formula for me is if I find a house that's been on the market for more than 30 days, it has had multiple price reductions, and there's been about 2 weeks since that past price reduction. So that puts me in the right position to make a solid offer. So now instead of offering $350, why not offer $340? Maybe $330. That extra $10,000 on average is going to save you about $40 to $50 a month on your mortgage payment. But on top of that, you get the house cheaper. So you're putting yourself in a much better spot because whether it goes up or down or stays the same, you bought the house cheaper. So you're setting yourself up for a much better future. But let's also add some other things. Why not ask for extra closing costs? So instead of asking for $10,000, you can ask for 4% or maybe 5%. If you're going with FHA, the limit is 6% last I checked. If you're going conventional, now you are going to be capped at 3% if you're giving a down payment under 10%, I believe. I'll correct it on the screen if that's not the case here. But there's nothing stopping you from going and asking for more closing costs. Now, odds are you getting 6% of closing costs is going to be kind of tough, especially if you're asking for a price reduction. But if you find the right situation, you can get a house 10, maybe 15K cheaper. And also on top of that, get 4 to 4.5% back of concessions. This is going to be a tough situation and not every seller is going to want to play ball. But if you're trying to save money and you're trying to be affordable and you're not being as picky, the odds of getting something like this is much higher. So that's how we can get money from the seller. Now, how do we get money from everybody else? Well, let's look at the real estate agents. Now, the listing agent, you probably can't get any money from them because they have already agreed to a specific commission percentage that they're getting from their agent. But the buyer's agent thing is a whole nother thing. So before you go look at a house, you have to sign an agreement with your buyer, your real estate agent, your buyer's agent, on whatever percentage commission that they're going to get paid and how long they're going to work for you for. So for example, you could be meeting with Joe Schmo Realty and they're going to say, hey man, we're going to charge you 3% and we're probably going to get the seller to pay for it. The problem with that agreement is if you find yourself a house and the seller is only willing to pay 2.5%, well, you're on the hook for that extra 0.5% from the realtor. On top of that, there's also a lot of brokerages out there that charge you an administration fee or an office fee where they say, hey, the commission I'm going to charge you is X% plus, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 or $700. And that's going to be our transaction or our office fee or something or whatever. And they'll just explain it. It's just part of the business. It is what it is. No, it's not. What ends up happening almost every time is the seller says, I'm not going to cover that. So you have to cover that. In my opinion, you shouldn't be working with anybody that doesn't have some kind of flexible agreement. For example, with my clients, I like to say, hey, we're going to start off at 3%. But if for any reason the seller doesn't give all the money they need to, like they give 2.5 or 2.75 or 2.25, I will reduce my commission amount that I have agreed with you to be flexible. It's great when they pay 3%, but if they don't pay 3%, then let's be adjustable and let's be flexible. So that way you don't have to come up with more money out of your pocket. In the situation I was explaining before, you're paying your down payment, you're paying your closing costs maybe, and you're also paying that agent's commission a little bit, which kind of sucks. Now, this is going to be an extra piece of advice that probably isn't going to bite me in the ass, but whatever, it is what it is. If you get the right agent, maybe that's not as experienced, or maybe they're just they're in a bind right now and they don't have a lot of business. There's nothing stopping you from asking for a piece of that commission. Now, you don't want to go and directly say, hey, brother, hey, sister, give me a little bit piece of that commission, wink, wink, because they're not allowed to directly give you money. Maybe your freaking realtor's running a deal that month where they go, hey, I'll give you, $2,000 of my commission if you buy a house in the next 30 to 60 days or something. I don't know. Here's the thing. They're making 2 to 3% on a house. Let's say you're buying a $400,000 house. That's like $12,000. Their brokerage is not taking all of that. They're keeping a lot of it. And of course they have to pay taxes and whatnot. But if you find the right agent, try asking a few thousand from them. Once again, everything is negotiable. Try it. I know one of you guys are going to try pulling that on me and I'll be ready. And the last one I have is your lender. Your lender is making money off of you. How can we get some of that money? Well, here's the thing. In terms of rate, they are all obligated by whatever that market rate is for FHA, that hour that you lock in. Odds are every other lender probably has the same rate because it's something that they can't control. What they can control though is how aggressive they're being on the back end, right? So I've had lenders who are like extra hungry and then maybe they're being shopped around with different people or whatnot, and they'll like give a lower rate. And if you ask them how they're doing that, it's because they're taking some of the money that they're making profit-wise wise, and they're using it to give a credit toward on the buyer side. You're not going to see that money like in your pocket, but on the closing statement, you'll see that they gave a credit of like $1,752 or something. And that was enough to get that interest rate to a 6.125 when the rates are like 6.3 or 6.4. You're not going to find out. I'm losing my voice over here. I'm like Harry Kane after the Mexico game where he's just like, sounds like Mickey Mouse, which by the way, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why I do this to myself every 4 years. You know, our team just starts doing good. Things start getting excited. You start saying, is this going to be the year? Is this going to be the year that we're going to win it all the way? And then they freaking just blow it. But anyways, I know all of you guys aren't watching the World Cup. I'm so heartbroken here. You're not going to know if your lender's willing to give you a deal until you ask. Shop them around. Have 3 or 4 lenders you're working with. And the thing is, you don't want to shop them around before you're under contract because they're not going to be able to do anything. But once you're under contract, let them see what they give you for rate. Ask them, is there anything you're willing to do? Are you willing to give a credit so we can buy my rate down or something? Some of them might say, no, we're good. But some of them, they might give you something. They might squeeze you down a little bit. So there's 2 lenders. One is willing to give you a 6.4. One is able to give you a 6.35 at no extra cost to you. Then go with the 6.35 one. That's a lower base interest that you have, which now you can combine that with the seller concessions you're getting from the seller, maybe a little bit of concessions from your realtor. You're going to put yourself in a position where you can buy that rate down to 5 to 5.5 and save yourself $400 to $500 a month on just your monthly payment. Guys, that lender, that realtor, that seller needs you to close on your house so they can pay their bills. If that seller loses $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 extra on top of the $100,000 that they're making, so what? If that realtor or that lender has to lose $1,000 or $2,000 from their commission, so what? Negotiate, be strong-willed, try to get as much as possible, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's a tough time for everybody. It's a tough time for you guys right now because houses are expensive and rates are high. Everybody should be pitching in right now to help people. So why not? I talked to a bunch of home buyers recently and I found out their biggest home buyer regrets after buying their first house. Here's the video I made about it. And I mean, the common thing I saw is just that they wish they would have just been handled the whole purchase a lot differently. And by you having this much more protective, defensive mindset, I think is the best thing that you can do for yourself.